I've got 2 dogs and a cat. And my Arbonne business actually, or my journey started back in May of 2005. So 12 years ago, going on 13 years, when I attended a party that my mom was hosting for my friend who was brand new in the business. She's now an executive regional vice president, Cindy Peterson. But at the time, she was brand new, had just signed up, and my mom was actually her very first host in Arbonne, or for her Arbonne business. And I got drugged there, of course. And at the time, I was working for my family's company. So my family has a successful business, and there was plenty of opportunity there for me to continue growing within the family business. But it certainly didn't get me excited to get out of bed in the morning. That was for sure. Very first night that I heard of it, that I'm actually one of those rare people that walked up to Cindy and said, "Hey, what do I need to do to sign up to do this?" And it's really just because I saw that my mom and my grandmothers were going to buy the RE9 set. And I was like, don't buy from her. I'm going to sign up. Buy from me. I'm such a good friend. So as you can tell, I jumped in. I was so excited about Arbonne. And I actually promoted to district manager within a few months. And as Tammy mentioned, that is where I stayed for 6.5 years. And guys, I really thought that during that time, I was doing everything I was supposed to do. I attended every monthly meeting. I went to GTC, it was our national training conference back then. I listened in on the team calls. I talked about Arbonne and thought about Arbonne all the time. I would sponsor a few people, and then they'd quit. And then I'd sponsor somebody else, and then they'd quit. Repeat. And it was a roller coaster for me. Every time I would get so excited about my business, somebody would quit or something would happen, and I would just go into like an Arbonne depression where I wouldn't really do anything for a few months, and then I had to recover from that, and then I'd get excited again, and then it was just a repeat of emotions over and over again. So after 6.5 years, you can imagine that questions started rolling in from my friends and family. Every time they'd see me, "Hey, are you still doing Arbonne? Haven't you gotten that Mercedes yet?" And I'd say, I'm working on it. I'm going to go to the top. And my favorite, I sat with a friend to tell him about the business, and he actually said to me, "No offense, but if this is so great, why is it not working for you?" And I didn't know what to say. I'm like, well, it's going to work for me. I just know it. So I was super frustrated, obviously, but I was faithful. I continued on, and I just couldn't figure out why it seemed to be working for everyone else but me. You know, maybe they were older than I was and had more of a network. You know, I had terrible cystic acne, so I thought that must be why nobody wants to buy these products or join my team, because who wants to buy skincare from somebody with terrible cystic acne? You know, I had all of these comparisons in my mind, and I thought that everybody else was just better than me, and they were going to be successful, but it really wasn't going to happen to me. And in January of 2011, my dad, who was my boss at the time and is one of the smartest businessman I know. He started a business out of our living room and grew it to a multi-million-dollar business. So I absolutely respect him as a businessman. And he called me up and he asked me to go to lunch with him. And I went, and he wanted to talk to me about my future within the family business. And he said to me, he said, "You know, I want to talk to you about Arbonne." He said, "I know you've been in Arbonne for almost 7 years now. And you know, I know that network marketing can work, because my mom had done network marketing when I was a kid and was pretty successful in it." And he said, "I know it can work, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to get in at the right time. Sometimes people have the right network. And honey, you've given it a good go, but it's not working for you." And one thing that I've learned in business is that sometimes we make emotional decisions about business instead of actually basing our decisions on fact. And sometimes you have to know when to let it go. He said, this opportunity is great, but it's distracting you. And if you would just focus on the family business, there's so much opportunity for growth. So I went home that night and thought about what he said, and I cried my eyes out to my husband, and he was like, I don't know why you're not successful. I mean, you do everything they tell you to do. And I'm like, I know, I do. I don't know why I'm not moving forward. And you know what? But I couldn't help but think maybe my dad's right. Maybe it was time to give it up. You know, it had been almost 7 years. But you know what? There was a small voice inside my head and in my heart that really knew that I had never really given it my all. And even as badly as I wanted to quit, I knew that if I did, I would always wonder, what if? What if I had actually followed the system? What if I had actually given it my best shot? And until I had done that, I didn't feel like I could walk away. So I actually reached out that night to my entire upline. In fact, I wrote like a 7-page sob story email to them. It's really hilarious to read now. And I sent it to everybody and copied everybody I knew and on there. And I don't even know how I had her email address because she didn't even really know me, but I copied Executive National Vice President Kathy Epperson, who was my EE and VP at the time, or EVP at the time. And thankfully I did, because she reached out to me and she said, what's going on? And I gave her all my excuses, told her I've been in for 6.5 years. Nobody will join my team. I can't get anybody to book. I don't know what the problem is. And she said to me, wait a minute. You say that you've been in Arbonne for almost 7 years, but I want you to answer this question. How many months out of the 7 years have you actually gotten in front of 30 to 40 people? And I was like, well, I would if I could get anybody to book, And she's like, no. I don't want to hear your excuses. I just want to hear the number. And guys, I was so determined to prove to her that I had done it that I actually went through 6.5 years of calendars and to try to actually give her a figure of how many people I had gotten in front of. And when I got back to her, the actual truth, which I had never even paid attention to, was that I had only gotten in front of 30 to 40 people 6 months out of the entire 6.5 years. And she said, okay, then you cannot say that you've been in Arbonne for 6.5 years. You've only been in Arbonne for 6 months. And guys, it was like a light bulb went off over my head. Bing. And I really realized that this is how it was a wake-up call. I realized she was totally right. I had not followed the system. And, I was just kind of ready. I was ready to get rid of my excuses. I figured, what else did I have to lose? And in fact, I told Kathy, I said, listen, I'll do whatever you tell me to do for the next 3 months, because GTC was coming up, and I said, I am not going to GTC again with district manager on my badge. I'm not doing it. I said, I'm not going to do it. It's embarrassing. It's been too long. And she said, okay, I said, but I'll give you the 3 months coming up to GTC, and I'll do whatever you tell me to do. But if it doesn't work then okay, I can quit. And she said, okay, well, I tell you what, you can call me back if you have 8 group presentations on your books by next week. Okay. So you can imagine I've been in Arbonne forever, and I had to figure out who I was going to call. But you know what? One of my favorite quote, new books is Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden. And he says that there's one thing that every successful person has in common, and that's that they do what they don't feel like doing. Okay, I'm actually going to see if I can screen share this. Oh, I can't screen share. I don't think. That's okay. I don't have it.
Actually, I'm going to make you the host.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I think so. Just click on her name.
It's okay. We can.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, there
Okay,
it is.
here
Hold
we go.
on. Hold on
Okay.
just a second. We got it.
Okay.
There it is.
Okay, perfect. Now, let me see if I can screen share this. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay. So he says successful people have all had to do things that they didn't feel like doing in order to get where they are. Okay. This was something that I did not know the meaning of until I decided to actually commit to my business. The theory of doing whatever I had to do in order to fill my calendar. So if you guys can see this was my first 6.5 years. These are my actual numbers, okay? This is my first 6.5 years in the business. This is what inconsistency looks like. You can see there's like 3 little peaks. Those were the 3 times that I actually qualified for area manager. But as soon as somebody would quit, I would fall back down into my Arbonne depression. And as Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. Have you ever seen a cardiograph that's about to flatline? This looks eerily similar, right? It's like beep. My business was dying a slow death. So I actually committed right then and there that I was going to take 100% responsibility for my business. You see, we can blame our upline, our downline, our sidelines, and 100 external factors, but somewhere out there is somebody that has worse circumstances than you, and they've overcome it. So what is the difference? The difference is that you can choose to be a victim or a victor. And in February 2012, I committed to no matter what it took, I was going to get in front of at least 30 people. And at the time, I did that by doing 9 group presentations. And you know what's interesting? Did I all of the sudden, from one month to the next, so that first month I had done like around 2,900 in QV as a district manager. And the very next month, I qualified for area manager. 1 month later. Now, how come all of a sudden I could get my calendar full, right? I didn't know any new people. I didn't switch systems or scripts. Arbonne didn't come out with any fabulous new products. Nothing changed, guys, and that's what I want you to know. Nothing changed except for me and my decision to do what it took. Commitment has a sound. All of a sudden, people were joining me left and right because they could see that I was serious. No one needs another hobby in their life, and people don't want to follow someone that they can tell doesn't know where they're going. So the very next month, with committed activity, I qualified for area manager. And area manager was like a hurdle for me. It was like, if I could just become an area manager. And just like that, I qualified because I got my calendar full and I stopped making excuses. 3 months later, I was a bonusing area manager doing over 20,000 in QV. Just like that, it jumped. So it took me a few years after that to become a regional vice president. You know, it's really easy to fall into our old patterns of thinking. But Kathy kept telling me, just focus on growth. Just focus on growth each month and don't worry about what else is going on. So I kept my head down and kept going. And I qualified for region in August 2013. And then it felt like everybody quit. And I fell out of qualification for region. And once again was super discouraged. Can you see a pattern with me? Emotions, letting my emotions control. Remember what my dad told me? You can't make emotional decisions about business. Yep, he was right. Once again, I was letting my emotions control my business. But after a few months, we did qualify again in February of 2014. But in March, we only hit around 30,000, which meant in April, I had to finish with 48,545. And here's what I want you to know. On the 17th of April, we were sitting at 8,853. So we were 40,000 away from our goal on the 17th of the month. So we're at the 19th of the month right now. And I want you to imagine that you're in qualification for region and you need 40,000 more between now and the end of January. So in that moment, I had a choice to make. And I decided that I was not going to be a cow. You heard me correctly. In one of my favorite books, Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden, once again, quoting that, he shares that when a storm is coming, both cows and buffaloes recognize that a storm is coming, but the way that they react is very different. What cows do is very natural. Cows sense the storm coming from the west, and they start running away from it towards the east. But the only problem is, if you know anything about a cow, is they're not they're not very fast. So the storm catches up to these cows pretty quickly. And without knowing better, the cow continues to try to outrun the storm. But instead of outrunning the storm, they actually run right alongside the storm. So they maximize the amount of pain and time and frustration that they experience from the storm. Isn't that stupid? Well, for a long time, I was a really stupid big cow in Arbonne. Every time I would have an obstacle arise, instead of dealing with them and facing them head on, I procrastinated, I avoided, and I ran from them. So when our numbers are low and our business isn't doing so hot, what's the one thing we know? It's the only thing that will change that. Activity, right? Asking, calling, and seeing people. But what's the one thing that we avoid doing at all cost? Activity. We avoid picking up the phone. We avoid asking people. So we procrastinate doing the one thing that we really need to do in order to move forward in our business. Instead, we drop a sample in the mail. We post on Facebook. We call and encourage our team. We check in with our 5 best clients over and over again, just in case they want to reorder, right? And the minute someone tells us no, we crawl back into that comfort zone and think, I'll just do it again. I'll do it tomorrow. So we drag out the pain and the time spent in the storm. But successful people realize that problems that are procrastinated are only amplified. Waiting will always make it worse. What buffalo do, on the other hand, is very unique for the animal kingdom. Buffalo wait for the storm to cross right over the crest of the peak of the mountaintop. And as the storm rolls over the ridge, buffaloes turn and charge directly at the storm. Instead of running east away from the storm, they run directly at the storm. And by running at the storm, they run straight through it, minimizing the amount of time and pain and frustration that they experience from that storm. So finally, that's what I decided to do in April 2014. Mid-month, with 40,000 to go, I made a decision. I made a decision that I wasn't going to be a cow any longer. I wasn't going to run alongside the storm, to blame my team, to procrastinate, to drag it out, and say the worst 2 words that you can ever say in Arbonne. You know what those are? Next month. For years, I next monthed my business. But procrastination will kill, I can't say that word, procrastination will kill your business. There will always be a next month, and pretty soon the next month turns into next year, and the years will fly by. So just decide to do it now, face the storm and run into it, rip off the Band-Aid, and decide to do what's comfortable for a short amount of time so you can be comfortable for a long time. So I decided that no matter what, I was going to complete Region. And I got on the phone and I called every single person that I had ever muttered the word Arbonne to. I dropped samples, I dropped products, I booked 16 group presentations between the 16th of the month and the end of the month. 16 group presentations. I filled every single moment with activity. I matched people's makeup. I gave facials. I passed catalogs, whatever it took. I told everyone that I was getting that Mercedes and I was going to do it. On the 27th of the month, with 3 days left, we were at 17,384. Again, we needed 48,545. I ran towards the storm. And you know what's amazing? When people can see that you are all in, that's when the magic happens. My team stepped up. Consultants who didn't even work their business started texting me and saying, I placed a $250 order. I hope that helps. My clients stocked up on their products, and we kept moving forward. On the morning of close, we woke up at 22,876. Determined to finish, I called my mom, who's not in Arbonne, but my mom came over and I put her on the phone and had her call everybody that she knew. And I got on the phone and called everybody that I knew. And I personally pulled in $16,000 in orders. Personally. And with 3 minutes to spare, we went $10 over and completed Region. $10. It is always too soon to quit. You have to realize that when you make a decision and you go all in, that is when amazing things happen. So we're mid-month. I want you to think about, are you going to be a cow or a buffalo? What is your decision? You need to decide no matter what. And if you knew what you could accomplish, you would astound yourself. I had no idea I had it in me, but I made a decision to go for it. So we promoted to region in 2014, and we were so excited. We became a regional vice president. The 9 years it took me had been worth it for that moment. So we celebrated, and just a couple days later, I walked the stage in Vegas, and we had our car presentation, which was super excited. I went region with all district managers. And so then I got the bright idea that I was just going to now show all those district managers how to become area managers. And then that was going to be really good. It was going to strengthen my region. Well, have you guys ever heard of a terrible disease called manageritis? I caught it. And manageritis is a deadly, deadly disease that will kill your business. And slowly, I watched my business go downhill. And guess what? The 9 years that it took me to get to region, it took me 9 months to lose it. Can't make this stuff up, guys. I'm a slow learner. So at 9 months as an RVP, I lost my region. Now, you can imagine, I've been at Arbonne for nine years. It took me 9 years to become a regional vice president. You have the car presentation, you get the Mercedes, and then you lose it. I was embarrassed. I was I was so disappointed in myself. I didn't want the team to know. GTC was coming up, and I was afraid that it was going to say area manager on my badge, and my whole team was going to know. Stian Mork himself called me, by the way, to tell me that I was losing my region. I got really excited when he called me until I knew what he was going to tell me. So, these are the moments, again, that you have a decision to make. I was so upset. I didn't want anybody to know. I called my upline. They knew, of course. And once again, Kathy said to me, what are you going to do? What else are you going to do but move forward? I knew that I was a lifer. I wasn't going anywhere. And no matter what, I was going to get back up. You can tell a lot by somebody as to whether they will stay down when they're knocked down or whether they will get back up. I wanted to be the kind of person that you could knock me down, but I wasn't going to stay down. I was going to get back up. When times get tough, do you give up or do you go all in? For so long, I let fear hold me back in my business and in my life. Fear of what others would think of me. I was so worried about what people would think about me losing my region. Fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. But I had a choice as to whether I was going to give into fear or lean into fear. And I decided that I was going to face everything and rise. Once again, I had learned the hard lesson of inconsistency and the hard lesson of not being in personal activity. So I committed, once again, to getting into massive personal activity. I wrote on my mirror of my bathroom, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. So I had to dig deep and go for it. I just decided I was not going to go down without a fight, and I was going to get my region back as quickly as possible. I had just one area manager and 4 district managers at this time. It had dwindled down, 1 area and 4 district managers. So guys, once again, I got into massive personal activity. I booked my calendar. I drove hours to book a party. I actually had my mom host another party for me. My mom was like, I cannot host another party for you. Who am I going to invite? And I'm like, you need to find some people. So you can invite your new neighbors. Let's go knock on their door. We gotta do another party. She actually reached out to somebody that she was in real estate with years ago. And that was the one person that came to my mom's party. And that woman did not buy anything that night, but she said to me, you know what, I think my daughter might host for you in Lexington, which is about an hour away. And I said, okay, I'll go to Lexington. I'll go anywhere at this point. So I went to Lexington, and this girl hosted for me. she ended up joining the business, and she quit like very quickly after that. But at one of those at the first party that we did, she introduced me to a girl named Rebecca Perut. And Rebecca Perut came into my business on the last day of February, which, by the way, for those of you who know, the last day of February that year was the last day of our old computer system. So it was a crazy time in Arbonne. And her launch party was an amazing launch. We launched this girl, and her launch party did $4,800 in volume. It's the biggest launch party I'd ever had. Rebecca actually, within 30 days, qualified for area manager. And about 2 years later, she actually became my first regional vice president. Now, I tell you this because I did not meet Rebecca until after I lost my region. If I had quit, I never would have met her. Her life never would have been changed. She never would have been able to have this amazing life that she has now because of Arbonne. She wouldn't have the Mercedes. I wouldn't have her as a regional vice president in my business. So many times we stop at the first roadblock that we get, where as if we could just see around the corner and continue going. No, we have to know that there are amazing things ahead if you continue moving forward. It took me 4 months of massive activity after losing my region, by the way. And over those 4 months, I personally promoted 4 direct district managers and 1 direct area manager, which was Rebecca. So it took me 4 months to get my region back. Now, what seemed so devastating at the time now just seems like a little bump in the road, right? It seemed so heartbreaking at the time to lose my region. But 4 months later, I had it back and was stronger than ever. And that's what it really took to get the momentum going. But it took activity. This is what the calendar of a VP looks like, guys. You have to be in massive personal activity. And that's what I committed to doing, and committed in staying in that. In April of 2016, I went to GTC with 2 area managers on my team. Okay, and sorry, I'm kind of skipping ahead because I went to GTC with 2 area managers on my team, a girl named Erin Beeler and a girl named Rebecca Perut. But when we got home from GTC, I decided that I was once again going to get into massive personal activity. Some of you may have heard my training on the 30 and 30. That's when this kind of was adopted, was right after GTC in April 2016. I had 2 area managers. I really wanted to strengthen my region and start marching towards nation. And at that time, I actually just watched a YouTube video about texting in our business. And I loved what it said, because it just talked about taking a non-direct approach in reaching out to people. So I actually put that challenge out to my team and did it personally, and the results were amazing. We started booking one-on-ones like crazy. We started getting our calendars full, and everybody started to feel like, it was something that they could handle. They started to feel like they could send out a text, that it wasn't overwhelming to them. So we began to duplicate that down within the team. And as we would send out these 30 and 30 texts and we would get people to coffee, we got really good at booking off of that as well. So, it's not just about getting in front of 30 people for coffee, but it's about moving people through the bases after that. So we would get people to coffee, and we give them an overview of Arbonne, and then we would ask them, well, you know what, hey, if you want to learn a little bit more, why don't you get a few friends together and we'll come and show you what it looks like to do Arbonne. Or if they said they weren't interested in the business at all, they just wanted to know more about the products, we would say to them, well, hey, why don't you get a few friends together? We would love to show you how to get some free and discounted products. And we would get parties booked off of that and continue moving forward. So we started to do this, and it's what exploded our business. And along with myself, staying in personal activity, staying consistent, continuing to duplicate that down within the business. And after doing this, in May 2017, I became a national vice president. Okay, so that was exciting. And what I want you to know is that within 1 year, we had promoted out a regional vice president, 8 area managers, and 44 district managers on the team. And I learned to duplicate myself. So with the exception of the one area manager that I had when I had lost my region. Every single leader on my team who's an area or above came into my business in the last 2 years after I had lost my region. So look at the difference that 1 year can make. So let me ask you this. When you're down and out, are you going to forget everything and run, or are you going to face everything and rise? The moment you decide to take 100% business, everything is going to change. As ENVP Stuart Armfield says, excuses are so boring. I can't do a British accent, but he says boring. And guys, it's so true. Don't be boring. Don't make excuses in your business. We all have them. You know, I don't know who to call. I can't get anybody to book. I'm too busy. But when there is a why, the how will appear. So what are you willing to do to make sure that you get in front of 30 people every month? The answer has to be whatever it takes. That's what the answer has to be if you want to get to the top of this business. Whatever it takes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get in front of 30 people every month. And friends, if you're looking for the one person that's going to come in and change your business, go look in the mirror. You are the only one that has control over your dream. You are the only one that has the power to promote you to the top of this company. For so long, I handed over that power to everyone else. I gave the power over to if my team, whether they worked or not. I thought I was just going to be a victim. I was just going to let it happen. People in my network, whether they booked or not, I was just going to let it happen. When I decided to take a look in the mirror and say, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, that's when everything changed. As On Fire author John O'Leary says, what more can I do? What more can I do to move my business forward? Well, I can talk to more people. I can sponsor. I can grow as a leader. I can do more. The only way that you can fail in this business is if you give up. I am living proof of that. I have failed forward in this business, but I'm here to tell you, don't quit before payday. In 1952, young Florence Chadwick stepped into the waters of the Pacific Ocean off Catalina Island, and she was determined to swim to the shore of mainland California. She had already been the first woman to swim the English Channel both ways, and that night the water was foggy and chilly, and she could hardly see the boats accompanying her. Still, she swam for 15 hours. Can you imagine? But after 15 hours, she begged to be taken out of the water. But her mother, who was in a boat alongside her, told her she was so close, you can make it. But finally, physically and emotionally exhausted, she stopped swimming and was pulled out of the water. It wasn't until she was on the boat that she discovered that the shore was less than half a mile away. At a news conference the next day, she said, all I could see was the fog. I think if I could have seen the shore, I would have made it. Don't give up right before you reach the shore. Things are going to get tough, and sometimes all you're going to see is the fog in front of you. But if you hold the vision and trust the process and know that you're closer than you think to breaking through, to reaching the shore, you have to keep swimming. When I look at my business close up, it doesn't look so good. It's up and down, rises and falls, celebration and devastation over and over again. Sometimes all I could see was the fog. But once you get up to the top and you turn around and see, you'll see that all the while, the ups and the downs, you were growing. You were failing forward to the top. My life is forever changed because of Arbonne. Do I wish I had flown to the top? Of course. But you know what? Dr. Tom Barrett in his book, Dare to Dream, Work to Win, says that there's two types of people in this business. There's your race horses who come out of the gate running at full speed, and there's your pack horses who are slow and steady. But the thing is that we both have to learn from each other. Sometimes people start off really strong in this business and they don't learn endurance and they tire out the minute things get tough. And sometimes as a pack horse, you have to know when it's time to sprint. I'm really thankful for my journey. I'm thankful that it's grown me into the leader and the person that I am. And I'm here to tell you that it took me 12 years to get to the top of this company. It was still worth it. My life now is amazing. I'm 34 years old. I'm retired from the corporate world. My husband is actually quitting his job in June to join me in Arbonne and to be able to pursue his dreams, which we're so excited about. We're building our dream home right now. We just got back from Maui, from the MVP leadership retreat. And more than anything, we have the time freedom and the sense of accomplishment of knowing that we continued on. So was it hard? Absolutely. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Every second of it. If it was easy, they'd hand out white bicycles, right? One of my favorite movies is A League of Their Own. And he says, of course it's hard. It's supposed to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Hard is what makes it great. Embrace the fact that this business is a little bit, it's not difficult what we do, right? But what's difficult is managing the space in between our ears, right? Managing our mindset and continuing moving forward. You are 90 days away from greatness in your business. Did you know that? 90 days. If you commit to getting in front of 30 to 40 people consistently for the next 90 days, no matter what, amazing things will happen. So stay the course. Don't quit before payday. I'm not telling you it's going to be easy, but I am telling you it's going to be worth it. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're getting a standing no. Everybody. So awesome, Ashley. So awesome. Thank you so much, Ashley, for your time. And you've made a difference here in Oklahoma tonight. Go make a difference in Nashville and some of your biggest fans. We love you.
Thank you. I love you. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Lori says she loves you too.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye. All right, guys, we've got some more for you. So excited. Was she not amazing? Did you speak to anybody in the room? Yes. Oh, that was awesome. Do what? She was calling me lazy. She called me a cow at one time. I love it. We need to be called out this weekend. That's what it's all about, guys. So now, Wednesday night, we have a pleasure to hear Lori Funds. She's with us over her entire weekend. How many of you, if you were touched by anything that Lori said Wednesday night, stand up and let's welcome her up.
I'm so excited to be with you guys. Do I need to stand on a certain spot?
Can you guys hear okay? No?
No.
All right, can you
Do I need to
stand right here? Can you hear
me
her
right
now?
here?
Yes? Okay. Right
Okay,
here.
so I may use this, Tammy, then. So lay my
Okay,
stuff
sure.
on. I'll lay my stuff right here. Okay. Well, I am so excited to be with you guys. I cannot even tell you how much I adore your leaders. And I know you heard me say that on the call the other night if you were here. And it's goosebumps for me to be here. And it's real because I've prayed for so long to duplicate what you guys have done in Oklahoma. And I just can't even tell you how honored I am. Like, God is so good when you have a vision. And you keep speaking into your teams that you're going to be the next Oklahoma because you've shown us how to do it. And I think sometimes we forget how blessed we are. And I just want you guys to give them a standing ovation tonight because they have shown the world how to do that. We all are out there. In fact, somebody was texting me tonight that they had private messaged you on my team, and they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I guess you posted our picture or something. And they're like, I had no idea that you were with Carlita Nelson. She was my first crush on Armand. And I mean, we just adore you guys. And I'm so honored to share with you. And I get so fired up every time I hear Ashley Stone, because God always brings us right what we need when we need it, right? And I was ready for my next shift in Arbonne last year. And I literally got on my knees at the end of 2016 and prayed for my joy to be restored. How many of you are ready for your joy and excitement to be restored this weekend? That's why you're here. And maybe you're already excited and you're just ready to take it to the next level. But I had sat there a minute ago, and I always start thinking of scripture, and I think of just different things there's just so much I want to share with you this weekend. But one of the things that I thought about that I'm standing on this year, and my word for this year is grounded. How many of you want to be grounded in knowing that you know that you know that you know where you're headed and what you're doing? I see a lot of heads nodding. One of my favorite verses that I have attached to that is, but when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. James 1:6. How many of you are tired of being blown and tossed around in the wind? Like, you just want to be grounded and you want to move forward. And that's what I want to help you do this weekend. And that's what I felt like I was seeking last year. I had lost my dad in 2016. Some of you heard that story, and it was in February. And I just thought I had charged through that like a buffalo. But I think I was more like, I just put on the happy face, and I was strong for my team, and I kept going. And I found myself at the end of 2016 just exhausted in my own strength. And I was like I needed to take the mask off. I needed to get my joy restored. And I just got on my knees, and we, in 2014, you guys, we had 2 double car celebrations. We had promoted 4 Mercedes. We had implemented some of the things that she was talking to you about tonight, just getting in front of more faces and using third-party validation, because we knew we were better together. You guys do take-a-look calls, right?
Yes.
And you hop on together. Well, we had not really ever done that. And so what happened is when you ask for something, you shall receive if you believe, right? And so I was asking for not only my joy to be restored, but for God to bring back what we had done in 2014, but on a bigger scale than I could even imagine. Well, the crazy thing is that my joy started being restored. The first thing that was given to me was the book Fervent. And if you guys have not read that, oh my goodness, I found myself in an airport bawling my eyes out. I love Priscilla Schreier. And you guys, one of the things that she talks about in one of the first few chapters of that book is that she was part of the War Room movie. How many of you have watched War Room? Well, when she was invited to be on that cast, or whatever you call it, they had to move. And so she said, I'm 14 years into my marriage. Everything's awesome. And she said, I get a letter from the producers of the movie letting her know that she really needs to be in strong prayer, because anybody that's done one of their movies, it makes a huge impact on the world, and they can get under attack. And I thought, why would I ever think that I am exempt? I'm sitting there wanting my joy to be restored, and I'm sitting there realizing that I've been through a valley, but it doesn't mean I have to stay there. And I was ready to move forward, but I was really wanting to move my team forward, because they had been so amazing during that time with my dad. I mean, we were steady Eddie. I mean, consistent volume, consistent steady Eddie growth. But they circled the wagons. I was really not present that year. And that's one of the gifts we have in Arbonne, is that, I showed up for meetings, but I was with my dad 99% of the time. You guys, prepare for impact. You never know when you're going to need this business. When Carlita says no regrets, I have no regrets, knowing that the day we found out he was sick, that I said to him, I will take you to every appointment. I will be by your side, and we will fight this battle together. And I didn't have to miss anything. But what I want you to know is that I had built this amazing team that was there for me. And it was time for Lori Funk to get back in the ball game and go help these precious souls rise up and get to where they wanted to be, because without vision, we will perish. And the leader needs to be sharing vision. And I was coasting. And so there's so much joy in serving other people, right? And so it was time for me to go serve again. How many of you are ready to serve so big this year that you can't even wrap your head around it? I mean, like double the size of this place. And that's where I was. So I read the book Fervent. It was clear to me that there would be challenges. Ashley shared that with you. I wish we could paint a perfect vision. It's going to be a perfect journey, but it's just not always that way. Life will hit you. But I want you to lean in and charge the storm instead of leaning back and retreating. You can either retreat or you can show up and grow and be refined. How many of you want to retreat, or how many of you want to be refined? Which one would you choose? Refined. Because when you're refined, you get to go to a place that's even better. Even better. And I can tell you that I'm at a place that's even better. Even better. And I'm going to share with you what we did. So the next thing after Fervent, when my heart was right, and I had a decided heart. How many of you have a decided heart for 2018? You are ready. And I had a decided heart, and I was ready to move forward. And I'm looking on the internet and kind of regrouping in January, ready for the year. And I read that book, and I see Ashley's, like, some big things are going on in her business. And I called her and I said, I want you to do a call for my team. I actually was invited to be the guest speaker at her car celebration, her region. So I really had been a part of, just watching her journey. I'm not in their success line. I'm really good friends with Eunice Ray and Kathy Epperson. And I got to know her at her car celebration. They had called to see if I would come in and share the opportunity and train that weekend. So I knew that she had some struggles, and I thought, wow, it caught my eye that she was moving forward. And I did not really even ask her on the phone that night what she had changed. I just asked her if she would speak to my team and share her story and just pour into them. And I'm just amazed at what comes when we need it the most. And so we're all on this Zoom that night that she did this call for a team. I don't know if it was the end of February or end of January or beginning of February. But she's sharing about this Deals and Steals event that they're doing. So I'm seeing unity that she's creating on her team. Unity is powerful. Don't forget that. I'll talk about Deals and Steals here in a minute. Well, it was Party in Your PJs. We actually changed the name of it to Deals and Steals because we have guys in our team and they felt funny partying in their PJs with us. But we implemented that. My team was so excited that I would actually embrace a little bit of Facebook world because I've been like, stay away. Wastebook is what I call it. But I loved the idea of unity and one more exposure that would connect all of us to build relationships and actually grow together a bigger community in Arbonne. I knew we could reach more people. So I was open to that, but I don't let them count that as one of their 30 faces, and neither does Ashley, just FYI. But we did started getting in front of 30 faces. We had a text message that she showed us that night, and we started sending it out. Guys, I have a guest speaker tonight that I brought on. Oh, I don't see her now. Let me see if she texts me. Kelsey, are you there?
I'm here.
You are. So,
hi.
Let me just tell you this. I'm going to let her tell the story, but she went from a frustrated consultant to an area manager. Her share, and then I will finish sharing. Kelsey, I love you. This is Kelsey Smith from
Hi.
And now Carl Junction. She lived in Parsons, Kansas.
Yes.
Sure.
So, Lori, thank you so much for letting me hop on. So first of all, I have to tell you that you can do this business everywhere because I'm on my way home from the game and I have 3 little kids, right?
Kelsey, we can't hear you. Is it?
Hold on.
Hold on.
Hold on a second. Sorry. Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. Go still. Real still.
Okay.
Hi.
You good?
We're good.
Okay. All right. So, don't mind my hair right now and everything. But Okay, so Lori, it's funny because when we started doing the Deals and Steals events, I was like, Lori said there on, like, she got on the page and she said, Kelsey Smith, you won a product or something like that. Get with your consultant. And that was the moment that I knew that I needed something because Lori Funk was going to know my name. She was going to know who I was. And so I was so embarrassed, and I will never let her down from that story ever in my life. But I knew at that moment, like, I just needed something. So like everybody else, I was just praying for an answer. I had a set of twins in October of 2016. And so beginning of 2017, Ashley Stone's call is really what changed it for me. And so, I was doing parties and I felt like I needed to be able to do something more from home too. Because to be honest, with 3 little kids under the age of 2, that was going to be really hard, but I knew I wanted this business to work and I loved the products. So I started using that verbiage. I actually took it a different route than it was probably intended, but I started sending out these messages with Ashley Stone's verbiage. I remember that first night after we got off this call that Lori was talking about, I got off this call and I sent out probably 15 messages, and it was amazing how many people were like willing to listen to me and they were willing to give me a chance. And so everything blew up from there because I was doing overview calls with my leader, Natalie. She was doing we didn't know what we were doing. I actually got Lori on a couple of calls and like the people didn't answer and I was so embarrassed, and I know Lori was probably frustrated at me, but I continued to keep doing them. And then by the end of March, we had over 50 some people that signed up. Mind you, I went from having 0 people, and I started in 2015. I kind of dabbled in it. And by the end of March, because of those overview calls that we had started doing, it just changed everything. And I think in the month of, March alone, we had 20,000 in sales, which is crazy, going from maybe 1,000 in January to like 20,000 in March. And so it was just really getting outside of the box and adding on to the parties that we were already doing. So I just told Lori I wanted to come on and share a little bit about why that was so game changing for us. And it was really just an eye opener that you don't have to just stick to the mold. You can always look outside the box on top of the things that we're already doing. I was still booking my events, but these calls were able to help me get those events booked a lot easier. Natalie, my amazing regional vice president, she took a lot of that pressure off of me as a new consultant, and now I'm doing my team's calls, and it's seriously been a game changer for our whole business. And so, Lori, I hope that's what you wanted me to share. I hope that was enough.
But I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you for being outside of basketball game tonight.
Hey, we do this whenever we can, right?
Yes, wherever we're at, whatever we can do, we just put it in. I just called her on the way here and I said, Kelsey, you've got to share. It's better coming from you than it is me. It was amazing to see what happened. And so as you can hear, we did not change the system. Do not change your leader's system. We still do group events. We still embrace all reach out methods. We do one-on-ones. We always go for the group event first. And they will not book a group because that's just smart, right? To get in front of more than one person and network. But if they won't do that, then we book it, one-on-one. And if we can't do that, then we book an overview call. But what this did is it gave confidence to the ones that felt stuck. And so they sent these text messages out, and on the text message, it says something about having your leader on with you. And it was so powerful because I felt like for the first time we were able to get on there and partner with them and train the trainer. They were hearing me do 20-minute overviews. They were hearing us tell the Arbonne story. They were hearing their leaders tell the Arbonne story. And I'm telling you, it empowered our team. I started somebody right after this. I was so scared, and I said, I'm going to test drive this with you. And as a business owner, I'm not going to have you send 30. I'm going to have you send 10, and let's just see what happens. Because a smart business owner is going to test this out and see first before we just go all in. That girl, I left her house. This is somebody brand new direct to me. My heart pounding. I'm like, this is so far out of my comfort zone, because I also told my team, don't you ever text. Pick up the phone and call people. That's rude. And so I'm not kidding. I get down her street and she texts me and says, I have 10 yeses. What do I do with these? Now, have you ever had that problem with your new business partners? I mean, that much activity within minutes of training them. And so I started getting on 20-minute overviews with her. She went district right away, but she was able to start sharing Arbonne without me right away. And I found that I had my life back. So even though I was busy for a little bit doing 20-minute overviews, they were out there being leaders way faster than I had ever seen them become before. You saw the confidence on Kelsey. And that was a frustrated consultant since 2015. And she became an area manager, 10,000 in sales with 10 new business partners the month she implemented that. And I called and said, what is going on over there? Because I knew that she had tried to get me on a couple of take-a-look 20-minute overviews and nobody showed up. So Natalie's here when she was doing them. And they had been doing 2 to 3 a day. So what if you did 3 asks per day? What if you did that? What would it do to your business? So let me just share what it did for our business. I'm going to share some numbers with you guys. And I'm going to share what started happening. Because all of a sudden, I'll tell you what, our joy was restored. My joy was restored. When I can see other people winning, that's when I'm the happiest. And we really started really implementing those things last year, but we never changed the system. That's what I loved about it. We were still booking group events, and this was icing on the cake. But what was happening is I was helping them book group events. For the first time, people that were really having a hard time booking group events, I'm on there doing a 20-minute overview, and at the end I'm saying, Natalie, you know what? I have loved connecting with you today. You know what I recommend after listening? Because you listen. It's like a fireside chat. These 20-minute overviews, I always tell them it's like a fireside chat. I'm asking questions at the beginning. I'm becoming really good friends with Susie in just a few minutes. And then I'm sharing the Arbonne story. And that's the thing. You cannot count your 30 faces unless you're sharing all the parts of Arbonne.